But the Ryan and Ronnie pantomimes were legendary in Swansea folklore. You remember visiting them as a child yourself?
Yes, I remember. They were the first pantomimes that we were taken to see as a kid. My parents would take us to see Ryan and Ronnie initially, and then of course it was just Ryan. And one of the memories I have is when I was a kid, it was my birthday, and Ryan was on stage and they were doing a audience participation, everyone had to sing, and my dad had worked with Ryan on a few cabaret, and he sent a note backstage to say, I'm in tonight with Ceri, it's his birthday. And so during the song, I don't know how old I was, I must have been 8 maybe, and from the stage Ryan said, come on Ceri, sing. And I said to my father, I said, he just said my name. My father said, he did and he didn't. I said, he did. And anyway, I was singing, and then he said, come on Ceri, sing louder. I said, he just, and I can remember that now. And of course, when you're 8 years of age, we believe in pantomime, you believe in everything, and it was a magical moment, And as everybody knows, pantomime is probably the first time that kids are taken to the theatre, so it is important that they enjoy themselves and that it's good, and people often ask me, why do you love doing pantomime? Because it's one of the only shows that are left where all the family, everyone can go and see it, from the kids to the teenagers to the grands and granddads, mums and dads, aunties and uncles. They can all go as a family. There aren't many shows like that left anymore. There's certainly not much they can watch on television without bad language in it and obscenities and God, making people cry and all this reality stuff that I hate. And we don't have any variety in this country anymore, variety shows or much light entertainment or any summer seasons that the family can go and see. So pantomime is the only really one sort of genre that is left that everyone can go and see, and I love it.
Did you ever think you'd ever appear in one from the stage to looking as a child?
Well, when I was a kid, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, I knew it would be something artistic, whether it was going to be costume design or art or interior design, or I didn't really think I would end up on stage, but then as well as designing all these flamboyant costumes, I sort of started wearing them. When I was sort of 16, I started doing shows in clubs and things, and then it just snowballed from there, and now 30 years later I'm still dressing up in all these clothes. And of course, when I appear in pantomime, that is an important thing to me, what I wear. My pantomime dame is, when they bill me as the most glamorous dame in the world, and it's probably true, I do like to wear really over the top gear, but that's how I play my dame. That's not to say that I don't like, one of my favourites was Les Dawson. I loved Les Dawson, and he was a real geezer in a dress, with a huge bosom and 5 o'clock shadow and that, my dame is a lot more sort of glamorous and over the top, but still not believable as a woman. It should never be a female impersonator. I don't play my dame as I do my cabaret shows when I'm doing Cher or Joan Collins or Tina Turner. The dame is a lot more over the top and in your face, but a hell of a lot of costume changes, yeah.
I know you've played the Birmingham Hippodrome, one of the biggest pantomime venues in the country, with your sister.
Yes, Ria was in that show. We did Sleeping Beauty, and Ria played the evil fairy Caraboss. She did it very well, I have to say. I don't know where she got her training from. And I played Queen Passionella. I'm playing it this year as well.
Do you work well together?
Yes, I love to work with Ria because she's just a pro, She just does it, no nonsense, just does it, And obviously it's great to say that I work with my sister, But yeah, no, I love pantomime. I really do.
A great favourite of Swansea audiences was Joe Pasquale, who played 3 pantomimes in the 90s.
Yeah.
You've worked many times with Joe.
Yeah.
How do you find him as a performer?
Well, I've done the last 4 pantomimes with Joe, and I have a different sort of relationship with him off stage than on, because when I'm on stage, I've got all the gear on, and he always says, Ceri, where have you gone? I cannot see you. You've gone. In front of me is this exotic sort of over-the-top creature, and you've gone, and it sort of freaks him out a little bit. And then at the end of the night, when he sticks his head in to say goodnight, I go goodnight, and he goes, you're back. And but no, I got on with him very well. He has my sense of humour and Ria's sense of humour. You know, childish, I suppose, toilet humour, dare I say, you know. But yeah.
Do you like it when things go wrong? Obviously not like it, but...
No, it depends. Some things can go wrong and they can be very, very funny, you know. And other things can go wrong and they're not funny. I don't have a great sense of humour when it comes to things going wrong, I have to say. I can be a bit sort of, you know, some people think it's funny. I don't really, you know.
Do you think pantomimes have changed since when you first saw them, then appearing in them, and today?
Yeah, they have changed. Years ago, you would always have the male was played by a woman, the principal boy with the legs and the thigh boots, and you don't see that much nowadays. They did start to bring in a lot of pop stars in the sort of 70s and 80s to sort of do that. We've gone through that period now where they don't use so many pop stars now to play the handsome male Prince Charmings and Jacks and all that. I've seen a dame played a few times by a woman. It's not funny because if a woman was to bang her boob on a brick or a bit of scenery, or you know, that's not funny. Whereas if you bang what is a false bosom, you can bang a nail into a false bosom and you laugh, you know. So I don't think that really works. I saw Molly Sugden do it, although she was great, I have to say. And they did have the Ugly Sisters played by, I can't remember who they were. They're two famous women, I can't remember, but they weren't great. I always think they should be the dame. I always think the dame should be a bloke dressed up, you know. I also don't like to see, this has started to creep in the last sort of 10 years or so, the fairy godmother played by a man. Danny LaRue did it and I didn't like it. And I think the fairy godmother should be completely believable as a fairy godmother. The only time I've seen it done well was Patrick Fife, one half of Hinge and Bracket. He used to be Dame Hilda Bracket, did it. But he did it completely as an old lady, and that was great. Because I think the fairy godmother should be 100% believable. And I only think the only people who shouldn't muck around in pantomime are the dames, the comics. That I don't think, you know, there's nothing worse than someone, Prince Charming, who thinks they're funny. You're not funny, you're here to look pretty, not be funny. And the same as Cinderella. Cinderella should be believable for the children. The fairy should be believable, the evil fairy should be believable. They should not come out of character, otherwise it doesn't work. I've seen it done so many times where, you know, the girl who's playing, you know, Cinderella thinks, oh, I can be funny too. Well, you can't. You're not a comic. If you were, you'd have been booked as a comic. You know. So I'm a bit of a stickler for all that. But you have to move with the times. So, obviously, songs, I mean, you can do what you like to a point in pantomime, really. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I never forget seeing Bobby Crush. If you remember Bobby Crush, you know, brilliant pianist. And he was playing Dick Whittington. He was playing Dick. And they threw him into jail. And he's in jail, in his cell. Of course, what's in the cell? A grand piano. Of course, there's a grand piano in every cell, isn't there? And he's playing, please release me, let me go, da-da-da, you know, only in pantomime.
And speciality acts you don't see today?
You don't see many speciality acts at all, no, you know. Yeah, you see it occasionally, they have ventriloquists, you know, playing the Baron or Buttons or something, but you don't see special acts, really, with, you know, dogs and spinning plates and hoops and God knows what. And
magicians.
Yeah, magicians, yeah, you don't see magicians in pantomime, really, at all. You know.
Gymnasts was another one.
Gymnast, yeah. Used to have years ago, I think they were called the Acromaniacs. I think that's what they were called. I think there's about 7 guys and they used to just hurl themselves, you know, all over the stage. The Acromaniacs, that's what they were called, I think. They were brilliant. But who can afford a budget? You've got 7 wages there. You know, this is why there's been uproar the last few years when they've been using kids for the 7 dwarfs, rather than 7 dwarfs, or you're allowed to say dwarf or person with restricted growth, whatever you have to say. I mean, there was one really cheapo production years ago, I remember, and they had cardboard cutouts of 7 dwarfs, and they would just across the back of the stage, 7 little cardboard cutouts going like that. And there was another one there where they could only afford 1 dwarf, and he'd go, right, I'll go this way, and you 6 go that way, So I don't know if that was true, but yeah.
And money plays a lot of in special effects these days. I know you played, again, harping back to the Birmingham Hippodrome. The quality of that production was no expense spared, with Rhea flying at one point.
Yeah, they flew Rhea into the audience, and I mean, my God, it was amazing. I've seen flying in a lot of shows, but this was the best I've ever seen it done. The lighting was brilliant. The dry ice, the smoke, they got everything right. You could not see. People say, you can't see the wires. Well, you couldn't because there weren't any. There were not wires. I'm not going to tell you how they flew Rhea because it would give the game away. But she didn't have a wire.
Perhaps she could really fly.
She's wonderful, isn't she? She can do anything. Yeah, no, but it was like there weren't wires, and they'd said, but there's nothing underneath her either, or at the side. I said, no, because there wasn't. Well, how do they do it? But it was brilliant. And then Joe Pasquale flew out into the audience and went up through a hole in the ceiling, and then he had a flying bicycle, and we had water. We had water, just the whole length of the stage, just a fountain of water, flat water, and the words were done computer. Words would appear in the water. They'd have gaps in the water that made the word. So Joe would say to the fairy, where am I going? Do I go right? Do I go left? And the water would say left. Do I follow the sun? Do I follow the moon? Sun. And it was just amazing. We had everything in it. But Birmingham is the biggest pantomime in the country, so I'm glad, Rhea and I are just glad to say that we did that,
But equally, a child can be amused by something very cheap as well.
Completely, right? I mean, I spend thousands on my costumes, right, for pantomime, but something could still get... You'd get a laugh if you had a big giant blow-up banana on your head that would cost you £8. Kids would laugh at that, okay? Also, I know there's all these visual effects done now with the 3D and everything. The 3D is great, but a kid would still laugh at a stagehand with a white sheet over him with slits in it, going, "Ooh, I'm a ghost." They would still laugh at that. And people laugh at time and time again at old gags. These shoes don't fit, try them with a tire. Right? People laugh. When I nod my head, hit it. You couldn't get your foot, in the Crystal Slipper, you can get your foot in the Crystal Palace. These are all, they know what's coming. But if you don't put these gags in, people get upset. It's like if you go and see Shirley Bassey, she didn't sing Goldfinger, I'm not going to see her again. You've got to put these things in. They're as old and as traditional as Christmas pudding and turkey and all that, And I love it. It's good.
When the roles that you play in pantomime, do the children... are they boisterous? Do they shout at you? Are you aware of them?
The kids don't tend to shout at me in the last sort of 5 or 6 years because I've been playing the Dame. Years ago when I played the Ugly Sister, they hated me because I was very, very evil. I'm not a sort of, sometimes you have Ugly Sisters and they're sort of short and fat and they're not really evil. They're horrid more than that, and they're a bit dim and they're a bit, but I always play it very evil, and the kids would hate me, and I'd always make sure that the other Ugly Sister was a sort of a shorter, sort of fatter guy, but the other Ugly Sister, she was all right, wasn't as evil as I play it, but yeah, and when it came to part of ripping her ticket up, the kids would just, and I loved that scene. It is nicer to be evil than it is to be nice. Even though the last few years I've been nice.
And the first pantomime you played?
The first pantomime I did was with Stan Stennett, Mr. Welsh pantomime, I mean, I don't know how many pantomimes he's done. But didn't he do his first one 1950 something?
49, 50, yeah.
Was it 49? 50? And yeah, he gave me my first panto in Porthcawl, the Grand Pavilion, and we did Aladdin, and I played Widow Twankey, and I think I was 23, 24, and I think Stan was 68, and I was playing his mother. But the magic of panto.
Only in pantomime.
Only in panto. You know, and I was very, very slim then, very slim, almost skinny. And he said, "Good God," he said, "you know, you look like Joan Collins. Not, we'll have to have something." So we wrote into the script that I'd been taking all these rejuvenating pills and all that. But you can do it, you know, you can just do anything really. And the more bizarre, the funnier sometimes it can be. You know, people, they don't understand unless you're British. People don't understand pantomime. They don't. They have it in South Africa, but they tell a fairy tale more than we muck around. You know, with all the traditions that we have. They've tried it in Australia. It's bombed. They tried it I almost did pantomime in Los Angeles years ago when I was in London doing a show, and somebody saw me in Cabaret and said, "We'd love you to come over to do Cinderella in LA," and I said, "Are you kidding me? No, we really want to do this. The fairy godmother's going to be Zsa Zsa Gabor." And I said, "You're kidding me?" They said, "Yeah. I know. I would have, number one, loved to have gone to LA. Number two, work with Zsa Zsa Gabor with her as the fairy godmother." And I said, "This is going to..." Anyway, it didn't happen. You know, it didn't happen, which was a shame. But I think even if it had, it would still not have been able to have been like we do pantomime. When Ria and I did panto together, friends of ours from South Africa came over, and they enjoyed it, but they didn't like. They said, "We didn't like when you came and you did that. And why did he step forward and say that? And why were they doing it? That's not the story." And you say, "Well, no, I know. You take a basic story and then you throw it up in the air and you mess around with it, you know." But they thought they were going to see Sleeping Beauty, and they thought that Sleeping Beauty, you know, and then I would play the Queen completely straight, you know, and the court jester would be a court jester. They didn't think, well, he said, why he kept calling out people's names and saying, talking about who was number one in the hit parade and who the hit parade, the charts, the whatever, you know. Anyway, they didn't understand it. It's British, isn't it? Typically.
And with Swansea being obviously your one of your first visits to pantomime, would you have liked to play a pantomime in Swansea?
Yes, I've never been asked to do a pantomime in Swansea. I would like to do it, but God knows when I will. I don't know, because I mean, I already know where I'm going next year, and sort of know where I'm going the year after, believe it or not. And I don't know, I can't see it in the foreseeable future, but I don't know, maybe I'll do it when I'm very old, and I'll do my last one in Swansea, and I'll be brilliant, and I'll say, "See, I told you so."
You play a dame in a very different way to your traditional dame.
Yes.
How many costume changes would you normally do in a show?
In a pantomime, probably about between 15 and 18 costume changes. The most I've done in pantomime was when we did Birmingham. I did 22 costume changes, which is fine, you know. It's just...
Do you ever come on in the wrong costume?
Never, ever, ever.
Until this year.
I wouldn't. No, I don't. No, everything is laid out military precision. You know, because obviously if there's 15 costumes, there's 15 pairs of shoes, there's 15 wigs, there's 15 sets of jewellery, there's, you know, props, various things, and coats and hats and gloves and bags and oversized jewellery, and you know, everything's going to be larger than life. You know, no, and I'm a big believer in the dame should change on every entrance. Well, I do, because to me it's part of the gag. But you make a rod for your own back, because as the show goes on, they then realise, oh, what's he going to come on in that? And they go, oh my god! So you've got to get thing. And of course, what happens then is at the end of the show, when the big finale, everyone is, well, what's he going to come down in, you know? And so last year I felt they changed the colour of the finale to red and gold, and I hate red and gold. And I said, can I just wear red? They said, yeah, just wear red. So I had this costume made in this headdress and that, and it was fantastic, but it wasn't, I didn't feel big enough for the end. So I've just ordered about half a ton of feathers from China, and so we're having this huge thing made this year, because when I came on last year, you know, it was a sort of, it was a, ooh, but it should have been a, do you know what I mean? And this year it'll be a,
That's hometown for you now, living in Cardiff.
well, yeah, I live in Cardiff now after, you know, obviously I was living in Swansea till I was about 21, and then I lived in London for 15 years, and then all the work changed, things change, you know, and I was on the road all the time, and I was thinking, my God, I could live anywhere, you know, and then I had no dream or need or want to come to Cardiff and live. I didn't know much about Cardiff, but I had a house here, and then I was here for 2 years, and I thought, no, and I moved back to London, and then when I moved back to London, I thought, no, I think I'll go back to Cardiff. I can get to Swansea in an hour, quite easily. I do a lot in the Midlands, do a lot of work in the West Midlands, and up there I can get there. Bristol, I still do lots of work south, so London, I can get to London in 2 hours, just over 2 hours, so it suits me fine. You know, obviously we have an airport, I fly to Amsterdam, I can go from anywhere in the world from Amsterdam. It's fine for the time being, you know. And yeah, and obviously this year I'm in Cardiff with the pantomime, so I could be home for Christmas for the first time in 4 years, which is good.
Will you get along to the Swansea pantomime this year?
No, I can't, because I'm working. I don't have, we have shows, and plus I still do cabaret during pantomime as well. So on the nights off, we have, funny enough, we have a few Fridays off this year during the run. I don't know why, but we do. But I'm working, I'm doing cabarets and that, you know. But I may have a party for everyone. I may have a party. But they used to, you see, they used to have the pantomime ball, and they used to have Bristol and Cardiff and Porthcawl and Swansea, and they would all come together for charity and have a party. So perhaps I'll do that. Perhaps I'll invite, you know, Swansea, Cardiff and Porthcawl just to come have a party here and feed and water everyone, and then say, right, put something in the bucket and give it to charity or something. It would be nice.
Yeah, it'd be great.
You know,
Get it
but
done.
we'll see.